beautiful specimen, and welcome back or to my channel. And I am here today with my husband, and today we will be doing, I based it off of this lovely look right here, and I did this on my little mannequin, which is what I'm going to be doing. My little silicone mannequin right here. That was also a sneak peek of what I might be doing for a New Year's look. Anyways, let's get into it.
No. Am I the a-hole for calling my cousin's ex to come get their daughter and refusing to watch her for the night? I, 15 female, used to be really close to my cousin C, 17 female, who had their daughter P last year. Since we're close in age, I've always supported her, especially during her pregnancy and unstable relationship with P's dad. I spent time with P a lot, taking her to the park or to the gallery, and when C asked me to babysit one evening while she went out with friends, I agreed because I love them both. Everything went fine until 11:30, the time C said she'd be back. She didn't show up, didn't call, didn't answer my text. Since P was asleep, I decided to wait, assuming she lost track of time. But hours passed with no word from C, which wasn't like her, so I really got worried. I tried contacting her friends and checking her location, but she turned it off. This was odd since she's always shared her location with me. Finally, she texted around 3 a.m. saying she was staying over at a friend's because it was late, and she didn't want to pay for a taxi. By this point, I was exhausted and upset. C had left me in the dark and essentially made me watch P all night without asking. If she had communicated her plans, I might have agreed, but it felt unfair to assume I'd stay, especially since I'm only 15. At first, I decided to wait it out until morning and talk to C later, but P woke up screaming, and I couldn't get her back to sleep. Feeling overwhelmed, I called P's dad, C's ex, for help. After explaining the situation, he came over with his mom to pick up P. I texted C to let her know where P was and stayed on her sofa for the night, planning to leave in the morning. When I woke up, I had no response from C, so I went home and told my parents, who supported my decision. Later, C called me furious, accused me of betrayal, and saying I sided with her ex. She also claimed I had dragged P into her issues with him. Despite trying to explain my perspective, she hung up. A few days later, she sent a long message reiterating how hurt she felt and blaming me for breaking her trust. Since then, I've been bombarded with messages from C's friends, even my aunt, saying I shouldn't have called her ex and should have stayed the night. But I'm confused because P regularly sees her dad and stays at his house before, and I never agreed to watch her overnight. Was I wrong to call P's dad and not wait it out, or was I right to do what she did, or to do what I did? Edit. Since a few people have asked, I forgot to mention my aunt and uncle, C's parents, had gone away for the weekend, which is why C went out in the first place, and I didn't call my parents because I honestly just panicked and thought it was too late at night. Update. I wasn't sure if I should put this in a comment or if I should edit the post, so please tell me if I did it wrong so I can fix it. Okay, she's basically explaining a few questions. Okay. The original plan for me to watch P was that once C came home at 11:30, I would go to sleep at their house and she would take over, but since she didn't, I obviously wasn't going to go to sleep with P in the house whilst I didn't know where my cousin was. I'm also really close to C anyway, so I slept over a lot, so it's pretty usual for me to be sleeping there, which is why my parents didn't reach out during the whole thing. I'm realizing now that I should have called them, but it's too late now. I think this is also why she expected me to just stay and deal with the whole thing. I see a lot of people talking about my first reaction should have been to call my parents and not P's dad. You're probably right, but that's just not what I did. My relationship with my parents isn't great, so they usually aren't my first choice in an emergency call. And I knew P's dad pretty well from when he would be at my cousin's house a lot, so I thought that as her dad, I should call him first. To start to resolve what's happening and take some advice given, I talked to my mom this morning and showed her text from my aunt and cousin's friends. I blocked the friends, and my mom says she's going to go around to talk to my aunt later today So hopefully that will be sorted. I also got some text from P's dad earlier thanking me for calling him, which definitely made me feel better about this. And a few of you were right. Him and his mom apparently want to argue for more custody of P, so that's probably what the anger from C is about. I sent C a message explaining that I understand that she might have had issues with P's dad, but that in that situation where I really was out of my depth and dealing with things that were too much for me, he was the best person to call since he is the other parent, and she never told me not to call him. I've not heard anything back yet, but I know she's pretty mad at me, so I don't expect anything from her soon. Thanks again for all the reassurance. I definitely won't be babysitting for her again. And to the people that are saying I'm lying about ages, I don't know why I lie. Don't know what I gained from that, to be honest. I'll continue to update if anything else happens, though.
So, OP's cousin is a teen parent?
Yep.
Is that what I'm getting?
Yep. Which is
Her behavior makes sense based off of that. However, teen parents have a harsh reality of,
hey, you're a parent now.
yeah, and realizing that they can't really live out their teen years the way they want to anymore. And it doesn't always abode well with everyone, and stuff like that ends up happening. And unfortunately, it is quite common. But, for example, both my mom and my sister were teen parents. Were they older? Yes, they were 18 and 19. But that didn't change much. It made it harder for them. Being a teen parent is never easy, especially because you don't necessarily have that fully stable relationship yet, and you don't have a stable job or own a house typically. It can vary situation to situation, but it makes being a parent a lot more harder than it already is. So really it could go either way. She did absolutely nothing wrong. She did everything right, in my opinion, because she was not comfortable with it. It's not her kid, and she was not prepared to babysit overnight. And I know in some places you cannot babysit overnight if you are, 15?
Mm-hmm.
15. It varies, but typically.
That's why you typically see seniors who are 17, 18.
Mm-hmm.
A lot.
Yep. And especially if you already had a plan in place, and then it got too late, and you had no communication, and it just seems like, not fun time, we'll say.
Props to her for calling the dad, though.
Oh, absolutely. That is exactly what she should have done.
I know a few teen parents personally, and one of them turned out fantastic. Like, she's a great mom. The dad, I don't really know the dad that well, so...
I'm really scared of putting this liquid by my eye, but it's fine.
So it's whatever, but I know her, and she was a great mom. She even brought her kid to school, and we all loved it, because he would make funny noises. It's just, in the dead of quiet, we just hear a fart come out of him, and it was hilarious. But she made it work, and the teachers didn't exactly like the situation, but whatever. Her classmates, at least, were supportive. Like, especially when it was very loud in the lunchroom, we would try to take her, we would try to make sure she went somewhere where it was quiet, either because AJ didn't like it, or he was trying to nap or something, but whatever. That, or I would just shut everybody up, which wasn't really that hard to do. So at least she made it work. And then the other one, let's just say she wasn't exactly stable when I met her anyway. I was a freshman, and I think she was a junior at the time. And then she ended up dropping out, and things just spiraled down from there, to be honest with you. But
yeah, it's doable, but it's not easy. And you can ask...
Doing what the mom did and trying to go live out her teen years when she left a baby home with a 15-year-old, that one has a curfew. Like, they need to be at their place of residence by a certain time.
I also
assume because everywhere in the United States, Danner has a curfew.
Yeah, I also know another girl who was also a pregnant teenager, which was younger than my parents. I think she was like 17, so not much. But she made it work. Like, she didn't give birth until after she was out of high school anyways. But it wasn't easy for her. But especially because the original, or biological, I should say, dad kind of walked out on her. She has a new man who actually treats her kid right and properly, and she has a job and she's making it work. She's doing everything she can, and she loves that kid to death. Would she do it again? Not necessarily. She would have rather waited. Same with my mom and my sister. Would have rather waited if they had the opportunity, but they are not mad at what they got out of it. They absolutely adore what they got out of it. But it is easier to wait, especially so that way you don't have to give anything up like that. But, I mean, some people want to do that, and some people want to give that stuff up. And, I mean, that's on them. It's totally up to the person.
Sorry, in the middle of stories and when she's monologuing, I'm looking at apartments. Is that somebody's roof or somebody's... Or is that just the upstairs?
Next story.
Am I the a-hole for not supporting... This is the one that Sarah was talking about a second ago.
Oh.
For not supporting my sister while she figures out her sexuality. Oh boy. For context, I, 18 female, have been out my whole... Oh, I missed the two. Have been out to my whole family as a lesbian since I was 13, but I came out to my sister, 21 female, before everyone else. I've always looked up to her a lot and wanted her to like me, but she's always looked down on me for nothing I ever did seemed to be good enough for her. Our relationship has slowly deteriorated through the years, and she grew further apart from me while I was still trying to cling to her. That's red flag on me there, buddy.
Mm-hmm.
So when I came out to her and she was super dismissive and not at all supportive, it really stung. It felt like the final breaking point in our relationship, especially because I gave her several other chances to take back the things she said to me over the next 3 years, and she stood by it. And I confronted her several times, and she kept insisting she did nothing wrong and refused to apologize. Eventually, I gave up. What a shitty sister. Additionally, I've struggled heavily with my mental health throughout most of my life, and she's also never supported me in that. And when it was getting really bad, she actually called me crazy, and again, when confronted, she claimed that she was justified and did nothing wrong. Basically stating that the sister was an absolute C-U-N-T. Okay, cool.
See you next Tuesday.
Recently, however, she confided to me that she never felt real romantic... You spelled that so wrong. Romantic or sexual attraction to anyone in her life, and she didn't know what was wrong with her. So I suggested that she could be... What?
Asexual would be my guess.
A-R-O-A-C-E. A-R-O-A-C-E.
I'm assuming aromantic or asexual.
I don't know. Anyway, that word. Because I know how hard and confusing it is having to figure out your sexuality on your own. She did some research on it and came back to me a couple weeks later and said it sounded a lot like her, and she tried to initiate a whole conversation about it. She was starting to get all teary and venting about her experiences and stuff, and I cut her off. I told her I was willing to help her figure herself out because I knew what it was like, but I wasn't going to support her emotionally. She got a bit upset about this and told me I was being selfish, but I didn't budge. That's okay. I wouldn't either.
Honey boo boo, you give what you get.
Exactly. Like, you treated me like crap, so I'm gonna treat you like crap.
Get what you give. That's what I was trying to say.
That's just like, oh yes, let's not support her, but expect her to support me. Like, okay.
Sounds like a grade A narcissist to me.
Probably. What the? this a lot. You're not really giving me any options here.
Sorry.
I'm waiting for Reddit to not crash.
Oh, great.
Note to all the viewers, don't try to buy an apartment in Reddit. Or Reddit, excuse me. Because you'll probably either be living in somebody's garage or somebody's attic. Not kidding you. Some of these are literally somebody's garage rack.
What's that?
It's a little terrifying. What is that?
What?
Oh, Jesus. I was looking at the head's falling. What contraption was happening? Yep, again, somebody's attic. I'm living in an attic. Not an attic element, you know. Oh, bitchy. Anyway. Am I the a-hole for not telling a man that the research he was mansplaining to me was my own? Okay. I, 33 female, work in a very small, technical, specific, male-dominated field. Obviously. I won't give too much information on it, as I think you could easily find my identity if I did, but let's just say it's a subcategory of law. I graduated 9 years ago, for anyone wondering. The system in my country is different than the U.S., so I only studied for 5 years. Lucky.
That would be great.
And am now a lawyer as well as a researcher. I published some work here and there, but nothing too major. And no one outside of that field knows my work. Yesterday I went to a bar with a couple friends who introduced me to one of their friends who works in the same field as me. I was pretty excited to meet him because it's rare to meet people who work in that field. He doesn't exactly do the same thing I do. He's not a lawyer, but a legal advisor, and we work on the same topics. So naturally, we started talking about our work. At one point, we were discussing a point on which we had different opinions, so I explained mine to him, and he replied by saying that my opinion was based on nothing, while his was based on the work of a professional. You guessed it, me. He basically stated
Nice.
He basically started explaining my work to me, but in a completely wrong way and missed all of my points. I asked him if he was sure that was what the author meant, and he said that he was because it was pretty simple, actually. For another good 20 minutes, he explained all of it to me in details like I was a first-year law student. I didn't say anything because it was pretty funny to watch him say things that were completely wrong with so much confidence. I would too. After the topic changed and the night went on, but at the end of the night, right before leaving, I decided to tell him that I was actually the person who wrote the work he had quoted, and that he hadn't really understood it. He reacted very badly and got angry. He told me that I had manipulated him to humiliate him. He yelled at me for not saying that it was my work at the beginning. I simply replied that he had embarrassed himself and left. I woke up this morning to text from my friend saying I was wrong for causing drama and tension, and that I could have been nicer to their friend. I'm not sure if I was in the wrong there. I mean, yes, I could have told them right away, but is it that big of a deal that I didn't? I'm not exactly sure. Edit, I forgot to make this clear. Maybe it's a bit of a misunderstanding. Both conversations happened only between the two of us. We were the only ones talking about our work, and our friends also weren't really there when I told him that I was the author. So it's not like I publicly humiliated him. The only thing embarrassing for him was that a woman seemed smarter than him, and that I think that's what he actually had an issue with. I've seen some comments complaining that this post was fake because that doesn't happen. I've seen many other stories where the same thing happens. That's not realistic. I'm not trying to justify anything because I don't really care, but I just find it funny to see lots of comments from women sharing similar stories, and then lots of comments from men saying it doesn't happen.
Misogyny.
We love it. I would do the same thing. If I would publish my books and somebody was mansplaining to me my own book.
Well, people interpret things however they're going to interpret them. So
I would just sit there and wait. I'm just like, are you done? Are you done? Cool. I actually wrote that book and you're wrong.
People are interesting and all come from different walks of life, which is what causes them to interpret things vastly differently. I would have just let him sit there and mansplain it just to see how he interpreted my work if I was her, kind of deal. Because then that could also help me word it differently to make it adhere to more people, almost. Or just for fun. actual liner brushes instead of using a dried eyeliner for a thin brush.
Am I the a-hole for not selling my car even though my fiance refuses to sit in the front seat because my ex sat there?
Okay.
Hi everyone, I'm 27 male, engaged to my fiance, 26 female. And while we're preparing for our wedding, something recently came up that's left me confused and conflicted. I want to know if I'm in the wrong here or if her reaction is unreasonable. Oh god, itchy. Here's my issue. My fiance refuses to sit in the front seat of my car because my ex used to sit there. She said it makes her uncomfortable and feels like she's taking what's someone else's. Instead, she insists on sitting in the back whenever we go somewhere, which honestly feels strange to me, like I'm her chauffeur. I offered to sell the car if it truly bothers her, but she told me not to because it would feel like she's forcing me to do something. However, she still won't sit in the front seat and avoids interacting with anything related to my past relationships. This is part of a bigger pattern. She mentioned multiple times that she doesn't want to do things I've done with my ex, like cuddling on the couch during a movie or visiting places I've been before. I've tried to be understanding of her feelings, but I'm starting to feel like I'm being held responsible for my past, which I can't change. It's also confusing because she keeps in touch with her own ex, occasionally texting or calling him, which I have no issue with as I trust her. Whenever these situations come up, she tends to withdraw emotionally, avoiding physical affection, not saying goodnight or being distant. While I love her and want to work through this, I'm starting to feel like I'm walking on eggshells around her emotions, especially when they are tied to things I can't control, like my past. Ooh.
Yikes.
Big yikes.
I'ma just say therapy. The girl needs therapy or she's cheating. There is no in between.
She's just emotionally immature. In my opinion.
Honestly, if the car you had now, which would be impossible, but the car you have now, if, like, your ex was in that car, why would I care? It's a car. Like,
Fixing to say.
Your ex had you first, so technically I have what was hers. And I'm like, if you want to think about it like that, then technically yes, but...
They say my dad's car, I have driven a lot of my exes in that car because my car was a POS. And sometimes wouldn't start. So I'd take my dad's car wherever we went because he would take his motorcycle most of the time.
Mm-hmm.
So, and you've ridden in that car perfectly fine.
I don't care enough. It's not like you're theirs now. No, you're mine.
And that's like saying I don't want to have intimate relationship with you because somebody else already did.
Mm-hmm.
Like if she's refusing to cuddle on the couch during a movie. That's just normal stuff that couples do.
Yeah, that's just regular
Like,
couple
bro.
behavior, unless, well, it depends on the type of couple you are, but that's not exactly the point here. Like, whoop-de-doo! You hugged, held hands, and kissed your ex. Okay, so did I. What is your point? And the fact that she's still talking to her ex, and probably would complain if he was still talking to his. Yeah, I don't trust that.
Well, people have different opinions on the fact.
Well, I was listening to Call Me Chris earlier talking about work wives and work husbands and how she doesn't necessarily trust it and she thinks it's dumb. I mean, for me, I don't really care. You have your work wife. And
I have
that's...
two.
You've two? Who? Harris?
Yeah.
Oh. I didn't know you considered her too.
Well, she comes and bugs me when she goes in director, so I guess I consider that.
Well, that's fair. But
Sandy's
both...
more of a work wife than anybody else.
Yeah, both Sandy and Harris. I love them both. I know them both. And they both love me. They both have nothing but respect for me, and I know aren't gonna do anything, and I know you're not gonna do anything, because I know you ain't that stupid.
Well, that, and one, Sandy's dating Alex, and two, Harris dating somebody else.
Exactly. They're both in a relationship as well, so even so, it wouldn't
Yeah,
necessarily
so-
matter.
So,
Exactly.
he's my work husband.
It just sounds like unnecessary drama.
It really is.
And it sounds like you probably should find someone else that's not going to...
That's more emotionally stable than she is.
Yeah. Because she clearly doesn't seem like the end-all be-all if that's the way that she's going to be acting, especially if she's... I'm not saying people can't text their ex still. I'm not saying that at all. I'm not saying that you can't be friends with your ex. I'm not saying that at all. But the way that she's going about it and the way that she feels about his ex, it's fishy, we'll say.
And to backtrack on the fact that Sandy and Harris absolutely love you. Every time you post on Instagram, they're like, oh my god, your wife is so hot. Like,
They love me.
like, I'm pretty sure they watch your YouTube and stuff. I'm pretty sure both of them are probably subscribed to it, so. At this point, if I were to disappear, you have options. There you go. Anyway, Reddit crashed again, so I think I have to update the app because I haven't updated Reddit in a minute.
Well, you can do it after this.
And to all the viewers, yes, I manually update my stuff because I'm weird.
He also manually pays for things rather than autopay it, just so he knows that what's coming out and when.
It's called ADHD and ADD at the same time, with possible autism. Not diagnosed. I'm not saying I have it. I'm just saying it's possible. I am diagnosed with ADD and ADHD though, so it comes in handy at work though. Just when I'm hyper focused on what I'm doing, I get it done pretty fast and correctly.
In the words of, I think it's Lynn's does make it, or something like that. But Lynn's on Instagram, I reference her a lot for pictures. Don't think, just do. That's all you gotta do for this part. I also have to keep moving the flashlight because it is now dark outside. So.
Don't we just love Germany where you get no vitamin D at all?
It's the same as Michigan. Also, this light
Sucks.
does absolutely nothing. So.
Absolutely. Speaking of, I'm gonna look at apartments. Oh, Reddit decides to do the same. I keep seeing the same stuff. Oh, wait a minute, this is insane. Ah, yes, it's me.
This is wonky, but it's fine. Everything is fine. I only have a couple more things to do. What?
Funny me. So, I need to show you the apartment I'm looking at. Because I forgot to show you. Oh, no, it's on Facebook Messenger. Now I have to use Facebook Messenger.
Now that, yes, ignore the fact that that's whack compared to this one. But now that I have that on, I'm going to do finishing touches, and I will be right back. And I am back with a finished look. Yes, I know the lash band is 1, dark, 2, not fully on. Once again, as per usual, don't really care. But I'm not entirely sure why that got so smeared, because that side didn't get smeared. But it's fine, you know. So let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. And I will see you guys next time. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Bye!